Greetings and salutations, this is Brian from Mechbladestudios. Let's talk about visual novels. They're essentially books, but instead of just words on a page or even just pictures on a page, they often show characters on the screen whenever they talk. Sometimes you become a character in the story, maybe even making choices that change the course of it. They're like the new choose-your-own-adventure books. There's always a question of whether or not these even qualify as video games, but on a strictly technical basis, it depends. If the story is completely linear and it has one ending, and then it isn't really a game because a game requires a way to lose. Some stories have different endings, some of them being good or bad endings, and the bad endings fill the role of a game's failure state. Visual novels can be all kinds of subjects, so when I saw there's one about piloting giant robots, I jumped right on it. This one is called Ace Academy. Created by Pixelfade Incorporated through crowdfunding, this is a story about a half-American gear pilot, that's what they call mechs here, who moves to Japan to attend Ace Academy, Japan's gear university. Now, given a visual novel's content is mostly the story, and talking about that is going to get into spoilers, I'm inverting things again and talking about the story last. So we'll start with gameplay? Yes, I'm serious. There's actually enough to talk about beyond you click to go to the next line. You can actually pick out a skill set before you start the game. These can either highlight correct responses in certain situations or grant entirely new ones. Try to bench 200 pounds with intelligent and you'll be stuck under the weight. Do the same with athletic and you hammer out several reps without a problem. You know how normal games have QuickTime events? Ace Academy actually has those. During the gear fights, you're prompted to choose one of the options that appear on screen, but only have a few seconds to do so. It's not much, but it's more than your average visual novel. An oddity I spotted while playing was the way the game handles viewing previous dialogue. Usually a history tab is available, either through an on-screen button or a certain key. Ace Academy doesn't have that, but you can view previous lines by scrolling up. The weird part comes in when it turns out you can still do this even after making a choice, so you can actually go through certain conversations through pure trial and error and return to the choices, but only to a certain distance backwards. The last gameplay aspect of note is that this is a dating sim. You can choose a waifu to grow close to and eventually date, leading to unique scenes or certain modifications of existing scenes. More in your options later. The art is solid for the most part. The character designs are bright and colorful, and the main cast actually gets a large variety of outfits and hairstyles. The girls seem to suffer from same face syndrome, but anime with huge budgets also suffer from that, so I can't be too hard on that happening here. Certain minor characters end up suffering noob Saibot syndrome, or Ruby Volume 1 syndrome if you'd prefer. The developer has said that this was a cost-saving measure, but I almost think they would have been better off sacrificing a main cast outfit or just don't have the minor character on screen at all. Certain backgrounds are reused, but mostly in places that would make sense, like a park or a reception desk. The music has a couple decent tracks here and there, but nothing too memorable. What is memorable is the full voice acting.
Are you for real? I knew you were an idiot, but seriously?
You guys really believe this stuff?
It's real. Ever since then, anyone who's used their gear on the anniversary of the brothers' battle has ended up with serious injuries.
It's reading week. She has me constantly studying and studying only. It's like being on house arrest, man. He barely managed to escape.
I think the voice actors do a pretty good job, but it seems like some lines require better direction. For some reason, some of the text doesn't line up with the voices at times, and sometimes the voices don't read the full text. I can understand why this happened. Maybe the only good take of a certain line changed an article or something, but that's what coverage is for, though perhaps time is an issue. In that case, just change the text to match the voices. This and the occasional misspelling doesn't break the game or anything, but they're worth noting. Alright, now we're heading into the story and characters. I'll do my best to keep spoilers to a minimum, but I'll put a warning up if I have to bring up something major. The plot follows Yu, the protagonist with a first and last name, who has moved to Japan from America to transfer to his gear school, Ace Academy. You and your sister Nikki have moved into your uncle's house. You head off to school, either meeting a nice girl named Yuna on the bus, or running into and inexplicably not killing a tsundere named Kaori, depending on your decisions. After your first class, a goofy dude named Sho asks you to join his gear team because they're short a member. You end up joining no matter what you choose, where you meet local kudere Mayu and meet or re-encounter Kaori, the team captain. During your first match, when your gear is about to get depowered, an emergency overdrive mode activates and you wipe the floor with the competition, but you don't know how it activated. Your team gets a decent ranking, Yuna joins in as a PR representative, and a flirt named Valerie joins as an engineer. The rest of the story consists of your life at Ace, rising through the ranks, trying to figure out how your power core works, getting to know your teammates better, and going through a bunch of slice of life scenes. Beach scene? Check. Hot spring scene? Check. Concert scene? That's arguably more of a Western thing, but check. The plot overall moves at a good pace, though the ending just comes out of nowhere when things really start getting intriguing. This isn't some life-changing subversive story, but it's well-rounded with some legitimate drama, effective humor, and memorable characters. The protagonist may not have a set name, but he has enough of a concrete presence to warrant an entry here. He's half American and half Japanese, explaining his ability to communicate with everyone just fine and his blonde hair. Curiously, in CGs, he's actually given a full-blown face rather than blurred eyes or something. You don't get a voice actor, though. While specific personality quirks are up to you to define, the protagonist has the, well, protagonist tendency to pull victories out of his ass. Mayu is the quiet one. Expect very little eye contact and a lot of stuttering. She's the team's ranged unit, being an excellent shot. She happens to be a descendant of the family that founded Ace, so she feels that she has a lot to live up to. She didn't even feel that becoming a pilot was a choice, but a necessity. She's Sho's childhood friend, add that to the list of tropes I guess. As such, her route always feels awkward given that the game really pushes her and Sho together, even requiring very specific responses in order to unlock her route. She's a very talented musician and has a slightly manipulative and possibly yandere side. Yuna is the vanilla option in that she's generally kind and helpful. She worked with a PR department in charge of gaining sponsors for gear teams. She's rather naive in certain situations and is frequently a target of Valerie's teasing. She always strives to better herself and gain new skills if her club jumping was any indication. Her route may not be the most interesting or funny, but it feels very real and relatable, with both you and Yuna doing what you do because of an accident affecting your families. Valerie is the only foreigner you encounter. She's from France, and flagrantly so. Every other line out of her mouth is flirty or lewd, and responding in kind can lead to some of the funniest conversations in the game. Underneath this facade lies a gold digger. Well, a core digger. It turns out she's actually a huge gearhead, pardon the pun, and was fascinated by your overdrive core thing from your first match and wanted to learn how it works. For the longest time I assumed she was the villain or something, but she's not even a pilot, let alone one that wants to sell the core secrets to somebody else. She's just a curious engineer that wants to help out in return for knowledge. She acts the way she does because she comes from a broken home. Her route is very entertaining, usually turning into a contest between you and her to see who becomes embarrassed first. She and Yuna both have simple route unlock requirements, being to hang out with them the most during the third week. Kaori is the local tsundere, a particularly vicious one that would probably give the likes of Severa a run for her money, frequently punching you and Sho for mouthing off. Which is fun to do anyway. There's a valid, though maybe a bit petty reason why she's like this, but I won't give it away here. Kaori's route, while not as cryptic as Mayu's, requires you to essentially know you're going for her from the start. Anytime she's available to hang out, you have to choose her. Said route is one of the most surprisingly entertaining and endearing out of all the routes, and was the one I chose in my first playthrough. Surprising considering I don't usually go for the tsundere option in these sorts of games. She's probably an example of a tsundere that balances the tsun and the dere very well by swinging very hard either way. Nikki is your sister. She makes good food and often relies on you for transportation. She's someone that you talk to regarding certain plot developments, but doesn't ultimately have a presence beyond giving you flashbacks of a show that should not exist. Thankfully, she's not romanceable, but refraining from choosing any of the aforementioned girls gives you a scene with her that pokes fun at the idea. Sho is your loud, tactless best friend. He's plenty friendly and is supportive, but most of the time he ends up being the butt of many jokes. It's unfortunate that the only male teammate is written so generically, but I can't really think of any point where he became insufferable. Okay, maybe the one scene where he faked a sob story to explain why he started piloting, but it's set up and played for laughs. The only point of interest is that he and Mayu left an existing team due to internal conflicts. He's not romanceable either. The characters obviously have the classic anime tropes written on their heads, but they're entertaining and likable enough for me not to mind this. Overall, I give Ace Academy an 8 out of 10. The story is not high literature or anything, but it's very entertaining and fun with a good story, memorable characters, and an attempt at actual gameplay. It loses points based on the odd production oversights, iffy cost-saving measures, and the sudden ending, but otherwise, I'd highly recommend checking this one out. Any VN that makes me create this many saves even before I decide to review it is worth something. Pixelfade made another visual novel called Crystalline, but it's incomplete and on early access, and I'll probably check it out when it's finished. That's it for me for now. What do you guys think? Have you played Ace Academy? Whose route did you choose? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, leave a like and subscribe for more reviews of anime, video games, and movies. Also, click that bell icon so you know exactly when I upload a new video. Thanks for watching. This is Brian from Mechbladestudios, signing off.